So the first question is, one of my very early posts was that I want to revisit tonight is, should you rent or buy? And you hear a lot of rubbish about this. Things like renting is just dead money, a house is a liability. People say you should rent, people say you should buy. Financially, it's better to do one or the other. I think it's horses for courses. There are times when you should rent, and there are times when you should buy. So, for example, if you're up to your eyeballs in debt, you've got student loans to pay back, you've got yourself in horrible financial trouble, don't have to compound and buy a house to live in. Go and rent as cheaply as possible and apply the money that you've saved towards paying down debt and get yourself out of that hole. There'll be plenty of time to buy a house later on. So if you simply can't afford a house, don't buy it. However, if you own a house already, then there's no issue. Keep owning it. Enjoy. Just think carefully about if you want to trade up to another house or not. But we'll talk about that in another week. But if you're ready, willing and able, you have a deposit saved up, you don't have too much consumer debt, you're saving a little bit of money in your 401k or whatever other means you're using to save, then I say go ahead and buy yourself a house. And why do I say that? Because it may not be the smartest financial decision that you can make in terms of if I put my money there, if I put my money there. But the reality is, for most people, if you don't put that money into a house, an appreciating asset, the chances are that you won't put that money anywhere that will work for you well. You'll end up spending it or putting into poor performing assets, trading it in stocks that don't go up and down, chasing the market. So I say that buying a house is a great way to have forced savings. So by all means, if you want to buy a house, buy it, because I truly believe that for most of middle America, even the upper America or even lower America, but most of the world, it's probably the only way that you will get financially free in the future. There's a great backup. And why is that? Because once you put your money into the house, your equity is building up over time. And we'll talk about that after I take a few questions. I want to talk a little bit about why paying down your mortgage is the dumbest move that you can make. But right now we're talking about getting into the house, not necessarily paying it off. Most people will end up buying a house with 10% down or 20% down. I don't advocate buying any property with less than 10% down, even though other people do. And I think that in this stage of the in this stage of the American market, when we've just been hit by the subprime crisis, I think that it's not an issue. I think if people are watching this video in 4 or 5 years' time, when the subprime crisis is well past us, then I guess I'll probably need to do another post to explain why. But for now, I think most people understand the idea that you should buy a house that you feel is good value, and that you're prepared to put some sort of 10% or 20% deposit into. But here's a caveat to it. When you build up equity in your house, I really suggest that you try and borrow against some of that equity and invest that money elsewhere. If you don't do that, then perhaps buying a house is the dumbest move you can make, not the smartest move, because there are plenty of people who retire house rich and cash poor. And my mother-in-law was one of those people who had a house fully paid off but was living entirely off a pension like a poor person. Yet she had at least $750,000 buried in a house that she just simply wouldn't touch. Now, there are ways to deal with that, of course, reverse mortgages, but the far smarter way to deal with it is not to get yourself into the house rich, cash poor situation in the first place. And that's where we have the 20% rule that I talk about on my blog, and that we'll talk about at another time.